All right, we're a couple of weeks behind. That's my bad, but we're going to get caught up today. We have two questions from Sunday morning from the last couple of weeks that we're going to answer right now. The first one is this: should the church be led by a plurality of elders or just one single elder pastor? The answer to that is that each church should govern herself as best is fit. If you look at the Church of Jerusalem at the day of Pentecost, clearly there's more than one elder involved there. There's 12 apostles involved in the eldership of that early church. However, when Paul appointed elders after the missionary journey, remember it says in Acts that on his way back, he and Barnabas went through each church and appointed elders. So we have Paul hand-selecting elders in these brand new fledgling churches. But we're told in Timothy's letter, which Timothy's the pastor of a church, he gives a restriction on how elders should be selected and how deacons should be selected. So clearly, Timothy is to be involved in having elders that he works with. And so I think some of this is dependent on how big the church is, what kind of governance the church does best under, and this will vary by culture. There are some cultures that a plurality of elders would be a bad idea based on the culture of the people. And so this varies. That's why there's no hard and fast rules on church governance. Church governance is not near as scripted as other aspects of New Testament life. You know, like the Gospels, really, there's not any variance there. The resurrection of Jesus, the coming of Christ, the judgment of individuals, heaven, hell, those kinds of things. But there is some grace within how churches are to function, how much authority has been given to elders, how much authority is spread among the congregation. And so those things must be meted out based on the culture with which you live in. Again, there should be elder or elders, and there should be deacons, and there should be other people serving, the whole congregation serving together. Those things, there's no question those should happen. But how each congregation best functions may vary a little from culture to culture. Within America, I think it's best to have a plurality of elders. And the way Matthew Road elders work is these are the people who are the theological setters of the church. These are individuals who preach and teach, who are on our church's campus as individuals who have been ordained to ministry and who have a pedagogical or teaching function within the church in a way that is different than other teaching. In other words, we have Sunday school teachers who are basically discussion leaders, but we do have some teachers within our congregation, I would say myself and Phil and Zach, who when they teach and speak, it's different than when just a discussion group is being led. And so I would say that we function with a plurality of elders, meaning ordained staff members who are in the teaching ministry of the church. We haven't really codified that as a congregation, but it is the way it practically is lived out. That being said, are there some deacons who in some ways could function as elders or do function a little bit as elders? The answer is yes. We have some deacons who can preach and teach. Phil, before he came on staff, actually preached in a number of occasions. You have individuals like Dan Hefner. You have individuals who have preached before, and Jay Harley, who's preached before. You have other individuals who have led and taught before, people like William Sullinger and Steve Hines. These are individuals within the deacon body, and there's others too within the deacon body that have stood and preached. Michael Laws, people like that. So there are also people within the deacon body who are that standing and preaching and teaching with authority isn't their gifting, and that's fine, and there's no problem with that. We have a variety of gifts within the church, and within the church there's no this person's better than that. So there are some deacons that in many ways functions as elders. I listed a few, and there's maybe some others too. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. But within the congregation, really the way Matthew Road works, the elders are staff members who are in pedagogical, theological setting positions within the church, who preach and teach with the authority of the church, and answer to the church for their theology, and the church answers to us in terms of its theology. So there's a mutual checking of theology there, but that's how Matthew Road functions. It's not really formally articulated, but I think the way our Constitution is structured, that's really what we have, is a plurality of two or three elders who are preacher teachers on staff, ordained, and then we have some deacons who are kind of structured between those. That's a good question. All right, next question has to do with the order of events. And I think what the person's asking is about the sovereign election of God in terms of salvation, in terms of did this occur after creating Adam and Eve, after Adam and Eve fall. And the Bible tells us that we were selected before the foundation of the world, and that Christ Jesus is the Lamb slain before the foundation of the world. And what this means is that the world was created with full knowledge that the fall would occur and that redemption would be necessary. Because of this, I argue that God, because He is omniscient and sovereign and absolutely holy and perfect, created the world exactly as it should have been created, with the potential of evil and sin, and with full knowledge that sin would occur. And He could do that because of His sovereignty and infinitude without actually causing the sin directly. And so because of that, I think that the plan of salvation occurs before Adam and Eve are even created. Before one Adam is created, salvation was already planned. Adam, A-T-O-M, not A-D-A-M. And so before the creation of the world, before the creation of matter, material universe, God already had the plan of salvation. And so we see that Jesus is the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. So before the foundation of the world. So I think in order of things, we have a sovereign triune God, we have the plan of creation and redemption, then we have the execution of that plan in the creating of the universe, and the making of people, and the fall of Adam and Eve, and all those kinds of things. And then the plan of salvation meted out within that. And so I think that's the order of events. Those are two really good questions, really divergent questions, but both really good. Appreciate them both. We'll see you guys Sunday morning.